Hello, everyone. This is Professor Francis, and we are now working on two requested problems. Right? They're both quadratic equations, and they're asking us to use a quadratic formula to find all real solutions. So let's get started. All right. The first thing we need to do is we realize that in order to, we're going to use a quadratic formula. In order to use that, the quadratic formula is over here on the right. Right? We see that we need the values of a, b, and c. Where do we get those from? We get those from the general form of the quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. All right. So if we want to find out the specific values of those letters, a, b, and c, we simply have to match it up with the coefficients in the given equation. All right. So here we have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay. And see the variables, the squared variable has the coefficient a, so a equals this coefficient. If there's nothing written there, then it's that number is 1. Here, b equals 2, and c equals -1. Make that a -1. So now that we've gotten that, we can go ahead and plug these values into the quadratic equation and simplify. Uh, yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so the quadratic equation is x equals minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And that's divided by 2a. Right now we know the values of a, b, and c. We can go ahead and substitute them in for the letters in the equation. And we must remember to use brackets whenever replacing a variable or a constant letter with a number so that we don't get our signs mixed up. Right, so we're putting brackets in for every letter that we're going to replace with a number. Right, and it's good to do it mechanically like this so we don't kind of psych ourselves out. And now all we have to do is plug in the numbers. So here and here, supposed to go the replacement for B, and B is 2. So we're going to go ahead and plug the 2 in here and a 2 in here. And the top here and the bottom here, see the formula that's supposed to be A, and A is 1. So we're going to put a 1 here and a 1 here. And over here we have a C, which is -1. We're going to put that right here at -1 there. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and simplify using PEMDAS, right? We're going to do the outside brackets first, and then we'll go inside this exponent. The square root symbol is considered an exponent, and we'll follow PEMDAS inside of there. So let's go to the outside parenthesis. Here we have a negative outside of bracket. If we have that case, that indicates there's an invisible 1 there, so it's -1 times a +2, which gives us -2, right? There we go, plus minus, square root. We keep everything in there. On the bottom, we just have a 2 next to a 1 that indicates multiplication, and that's just 2. Now now we go inside. This square root is considered an exponent, so we go in there, and then we have another exponent, 2 squared. That simply means 2 times 2, which gives us 4. Right? And then we have over here, we have this is subtraction, but it's really, when you do the arithmetic, it's really the sign of the number to the right of it. So it's actually the sign of this 4. So this is a -4, and we're going to multiply these three numbers together. So it's -4 times 1 times a -1. So -4 times a +1 gives you -4. And then when you multiply two of the same signs, -4 and -1, you get a +4. Because multiplying the same signs always gives you a positive. And let me write this as a 4. Okay, and 4 times 1 gives you 4. Now we can simplify further. We get x equals -2 plus or minus square root of 4 plus 4 is 8 over 2. Now this we have underneath the square root, we have the factors. We can actually factor a perfect square out of this 8. So we're going to go ahead and do that to simplify it further. Okay, let's go ahead. So on the outside, we have -2 over 2 plus or minus, and then we're going to say 8 can be factored into 4, square root of 4. Square root of 8 can be factored into square root of 4 times square root of 2, right? And that then leads us to simplifying that square root of 4. We now have square root of 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 over 2. Now, if we separate these two terms, right, all right, we end up with negative 2 over 2 plus or minus 2 radical 2 over 2. And this simplifies the 2's cancel out in the top and the bottom. We end up with negative 1 plus or minus square root of 2. Right? Because this 2 cancels out with that 2, and that 2 cancels out with that one. Right? So our answer is x equals negative 1 plus or minus square root of 2. Okay. Now let's look at the other one. Here we have 3x squared minus x equals 1, but this is not in a general format. See, the general format is 3 terms that equal 0. We have 2 terms on this side, and we have 1 term on the other side. So we had to do a little bit of algebra to get it equal to 0. How do we do that? We have 1 on this side of the equal sign. We just subtract 1, right? So that's a plus 1 minus 1. That gives us 0. And then, of course, because it's an equal sign, if we subtract 1 on this side equal sign, we have to subtract 1 on this side as well, right? So now we have 3x squared minus x minus 1 equals 0. Now it's in the correct format. We can align, we can match it up with the general form. We get ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, right? Where we can see now that a equals 3, b equals 1, and b equals negative 1, and c equals negative 1, right? That's a negative. I know it doesn't look like a negative, but here, let's fix that. All right. So it's clear. B equals negative 1 and C equals negative 1. We get that from matching up the A, B, and C with the coefficients of each of the terms. All right, so now we can go ahead again and we can plug these values into the quadratic equation. Plus or minus square root of, again, I'm replacing the letters with brackets first, so we can mechanically plug in the values, which reduces the possibility of us making errors. Okay. All right, so we know that these two are b, so we plug in the value for b is minus 1 and minus 1, right? These two in the top and bottom are a, so we're going to plug in the value of 3 here and 3, positive 3 there. And this is c, which is a negative 1. Now we can go ahead and simplify. And we get, same way we did before, we have a minus sign outside of a bracket. So that's going to be a minus 1 times a minus 1. When you multiply the same signs, you're going to end up with, oh, I forgot to put this, a positive. So we get x equals 1 plus or minus. Right, in the bottom, we have 2 times 3. That's going to give us 6. Then we have the square root of negative 1 squared. Again, we're multiplying same sign. We're going to get a positive 1. And then here, we have a minus 4 times a 3, which gives us a negative 12, right? And then negative 12 times this negative 1, we had the same signs multiplying, that gives us a plus 12. All right, so simplifying a little bit more, we have x equals plus or minus square root of 1 plus 12 is 13 over 6. And this is our answer. Okay, so I hope that helped. And if it did, please remember to like and subscribe by clicking that little button right there. And we'll see you on the next video.